I'm waiting for it. There's surely an autoclave. There's surely an autoclave waiting for me the moment I let my guard down. Okay, maybe I'm safe. Maybe I'm safe this stream. Anyway, hi! How's everyone doing? It's a lovely Friday. And it's also the first day of spring. Spring has sprungeth. Sprung? It's spring. It's no more cold. Cold's not allowed anymore, you guys. We're almost out of the dark ages. I know I'm going to get some naysayers, some booers, some people who suffered through allergies, but that's not me. I can't relate to your issues. I can't relate to your struggles of pollen. I'm happy to be free of the winter soon. I say soon because it's actually been pretty cold here. It hasn't really felt like spring yet. It was feeling more springy sprung like a few weeks ago when it was in the 70s and 60s. We're back to like the 30s and I don't like it. I'm not a fan personally, hoping it goes away soon. I want to see trees and leaves and stop wearing hoodies and jackets. I'm tired of wearing layers, you know. I want a t-shirt. Give me a t-shirt. Or at least a hoodie and would be sufficient for me to walk outside, and that's like acceptable. But when I have to wear the hoodie and then the jacket and then also a beanie, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm over it. But I think that's the end of it's almost here. The end of that's almost here. And I'm going to enjoy it until it gets really, really hot. And then I hate everything again. And then it'll be nice again when it's the fall. And then the cycle continues. But how is everyone else? Has everyone been having a good week? I haven't streamed in a bit. As I've talked about in my Discord and on social media. I'm pretty busy with work and also doing videos. So, you know, I haven't been able to have the time to really sit down and talk with you guys on stream. But, you know, I do like streaming and I miss you guys. It's just a lot of it's a lot of time. But I wanted to just sit down and talk today, you know, since I have free time. An actual Friday where I don't have anything at all going on. Not a single thing. I even worked late today so I could I could be truly free and I didn't have to think about anything work related. There was so much to do this week. So I am glad to finally be sitting down and talking and yapping and not thinking about that anymore. Hi Beppo! Hi! Nice to see you. Hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing good. I've also, aside from work, it's mostly been a lot of, when I have free time, I've been working on a lot of video editing and scripting. I've talked about my giant Google Doc of video script ideas, but that Google Doc is getting enormous. It's very, very long right now. And not a lot of the things I want to talk about, I've fully scripted them out yet, but they are bullet points of like, oh, sounds like a cool research article. And then I have to go back to it later and go, why did I think this was interesting again? I should really like put more notes. Or sometimes it is interesting and then I'm like, well, past Nico, like, what did you think? Did you think that I was gonna like, why did you think this was cool? Do you want me to read through this whole paper? All you did, like, you didn't give me anything to work off of. How am I supposed to summarize this whole nature paper in like 1 minute? What do you want from me? But it's a work in progress. I should have a lot of things lined up for this next month. I was gonna say this month, but this month's already over. This month is already over. Can you believe Q1's done? Q1's donezo, guys. It's crazy. This year is like flying by. I was looking at our New Year's checklist and I was like, how am I supposed to get through? How am I gonna get through that? I guess it's not really a checklist. I said like I'd like to accomplish these things, and I still can. There's still a lot of time. There's still a lot of time. There's still a lot of time. I can do it. I can do it. I just have to stop procrastinating. I gotta stop putting down so many things for me to work on. I gotta stop putting a billion nature articles for me to read and then make a video that anyone can understand. But it's so fun. It's just so fun to talk about those things. I also talked about how I was gonna work on more long form videos. This stream is actually I'm going to try to create a nice long form video from this, cutting all of this beginning part out. Obviously, the people on YouTube don't need to hear me yap like this. They don't need to hear me like drone on and on about my day. That's the stream exclusive. That's for you guys only. I have long form videos cooking, and it's always a bit of a challenge doing the longer videos compared to the shorts. I feel like with shorts, the editing style is very like bop 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 bop, you know? You just kind of want to overwhelm the senses and overwhelm the brain with editing and fast cuts, and you don't want them to think about what's actually going on. You just want to overload them with information, but you can't. I don't think that style works as well in long form. I've really been sitting down and studying how people do long form videos well. You know, I've been watching a lot of like other science, like big science YouTubers, but it's always so difficult because I feel like some of the things people do on channels, they don't translate as well as on a VTuber. Like, it's so much easier, like, if I was a person and I could, like, use my hands and show you things and point at things. I can't point at things. If I want to point at things, I have to make an art, like, illustration of me pointing at something. And then that adds, like, so much more time compared to me just, like, recording myself pointing at something. The struggles of being 2D. Then it made me think, oh man. Then I went to a rabbit hole of, I wish I had a 3D model. And then I didn't make any progress in the long form video, like editing. I recently uploaded the long form video of the symposium talk. If you haven't seen that, you should check it out. It's not much editing though, because I just kind of took my VOD and like put it over, but then I made that intro and someone complimented it and said that was really high quality, and I was like, thank you, I worked hard on that. You know how many Ludwig videos I studied to like make it feel like something like that, understanding that there's a subtle zoom in happening that whole time when he's talking, and going, oh, it feels like nothing's happening, but it's kind of zooming in. Oh. We'll get something going. I'd like to do a thing of like one big video a month, but that might be putting too much on my plate. But we'll see. We will see. It is getting harder to make the shorter videos, especially for certain topics I pick. Like recently, I uploaded the short that was like about reading papers, and somehow that ended up being like almost 2 minutes long. And I was like, how did I make this 2 minutes long? And then I was like, oh, it's because I kept adding things that I was like, let me make sure that I'm talking about the correct thing. And then it just kept adding up and adding up. I remember I was close to finishing up the video editing, and then I was listening to it and I was like, oh darn, I didn't mention this thing that I think is kind of important. And then I was like wrestling with like, oh, should I add it? It's gonna add like 20 to 10 more seconds, and that's kind of a lot. And then I was like, and then my scientific integrity said, you gotta add it. And I said, okay. That video is, unfortunately, the view time is definitely lower. And I understand why. 2 minutes it's a lot. It's a lot to ask for from the shorts audience. 2 minutes when you could have 2 minutes on one short when you could have watched a whole Malcolm in the Middle sitcom episode reduced into 2 minutes instead, how can I compete? That's also what my algorithm has been. I watched one short about Malcolm in the Middle because there's like a new special coming out this year, and now the shorts just go, do you want to watch more Malcolm in the Middle? And I think I'm feeding into it because I keep watching them to like completion. And then it makes me feel like, do I even need to like rewatch Malcolm in the Middle? I'm watching all these shorts are just the episode compressed into 2 minutes, and I feel like I'm getting the best parts of every episode. This dangerous content, I tell you. It's been 20 minutes of me yapping about random things. I should probably talk about the science part that I said I was going to talk about. I should probably talk about that. So, this is our science friYAY, but instead of the usual format, I'm kind of wanting to experiment with something a little more casual and lax that doesn't involve me making a PowerPoint. Lately, I realized like the one part, I do love making presentations and PowerPoints, but then they also add like a layer of, oh gosh, I gotta make a PowerPoint and I gotta make a presentation. And it's so much. And because, you know, I can't get away with how I do it at work, which is just a white background and black text, I will always feel like I need to make it pretty. So this Science friYAY, I want to try a more of just lecturing, monologuing approach? Question mark? We'll see how this goes. I can always pull up visuals as needed, but I don't think this one's gonna need much visuals. This is mostly just going to be me yapping about parts of science that I think are really not nice. They're either not nice, toxic, unfun, negative, bad, hate them, don't care for it. But all in all, it's still like, I love science. Science, I'm a scientist. I'm always going to be a scientist in one way or another. I will always be a scientist. And you can't, and I'll always love science. But man, I think everyone who has worked in science can agree that there's parts that are just so dreadful and bad and terrible, and it makes me then want to quit. Quit in like many different ways. Quit permanently. For background, again, remember, you guys, stream viewers, remember, I'm making this into the YouTube video, so I gotta introduce myself. I know you've heard this before, but I gotta introduce myself. For background, I was a grad student. I was doing my PhD in molecular pharmacology, and it was great until it wasn't great, and I realized, oh gosh, I can't do this anymore. I was in my program for about 5 years or so, which is quite a long time. A lot of people don't realize like how long a PhD program is, especially in the United States. It can be pretty long. Some people can get up to the 7+ year territory, and their professor might still be holding them hostage. Hi B, hello, I hope you're having a good day. Thank you for stopping by. So as I was in my grad school program, it was around like perhaps year 3 or 4 that I went, this is like making me stressed every single day. I wake up and I'm feeling terrible. Why? And I struggle to think about like what was exactly wrong. I was like, I like the things I'm doing, right? And then I realized, oh, I actually don't. I don't like doing wet lab work. I know as a scientist, and I'm wearing the lab coat, and I know, I feel like I'm deceiving you by wearing the lab coat and being all bacteria in the petri dish and all that. But man, I can't. I really can't stand wet lab work. But again, this could be because of the model organism I researched. I was working, during my PhD, I worked on specifically aging. And to do aging research, you can't really use like cell culture models as easily. you're gonna have to use a live model. And my model was aged mice. So I would have to work with mice that were like, they had to work with young mice. That was our, like, you know, one of our other group samples. And I also had to work with mice that were like really old. Like, they were so old and gross and like fat and not nice. They were not nice. The old mice were so mean to me. They would like want to nip at me all the time. I did not like that. I did not appreciate those little fat, those big fat guys trying to get at me. My mom had a similar thing of like, I don't like experimenting on mice and chickens. I think live animal work is just takes such a toll on you. And it's not until, I didn't realize until like maybe a year or two, I would think like, I'm so tired. Why am I so tired? Oh, it's because I can't have a vacation. I can't have a vacation because my animals, they can't just wait for me to come back. They might die if I go on vacation. And no one's gonna take care of them. That was no one like in my lab, nobody was like offering to take care of another person's animals unless you had some kind of seniority. Like, no one was gonna take care of the PhD students' mice. And I think for me, wet lab work was definitely something I found incredibly unfun. And a big part of that was like the mice. And then another part of that was this expectation from my PI. The PI is just so... He was very, very deeply entrenched in the publish or perish mentality. And I feel for him. It's like, I was really like annoyed and mad at him. But then when I like look back on it, it's like, oh gosh, I feel for him because he needed to get tenure. Tenure is a huge thing in academic institutions. That's what gets you the golden ticket as a professor to say, oh, I made it. And to do that, you're gonna need to like get papers and publications and grants and funding. You have to show that you are like an amazing researcher. And how to do that is your grad students need to be pushing out the actually amazing research. And yeah, it's a lot of job security for them. Without tenure, it's very likely they will not have a job. You kind of need to be, like, when you go become a professor, you are basically on this ticking time bomb of, I gotta get tenure ASAP. How do I get tenure ASAP? And that kind of leads to this toxic, like, work environment that a lot of, I think, PhD students, especially in the biomedical fields, they face. I was told constantly, like, if my life isn't my PhD and my research, this is not for me. And I would go, oh, I will make it for me. I'll think about science and everything every single day and every single minute, and I won't think about anything except that. And, you know, you can tell, you can tell how that kind of ends up. It's not good. It's not good for anyone. But yes, it's just, academia definitely needs some kind of change when it comes to this. All it does is lead to unhealthy work environments. And I would also argue it probably leads to bad science. This was a problem in a lab that I knew about. Not in my lab personally, but there were students that were caught basically just faking data, and I'm like, oh. And it's because, I mean, they needed to get something, they needed to produce something, and so they were like, well, I'm just gonna like make up some numbers in a spreadsheet. Who's gonna stop me? Who's gonna say like it's not real? Like, you can't measure, you're not gonna find out. Obviously people do find out. I don't want to say it's very easy, because I don't think it's actually that easy depending on what kind of data you're faking, especially nowadays. We can talk more about this too, but they were faking data they basically shouldn't have, because there's like protection, as in like they could look at the machine and the machine said these numbers, but then they submitted numbers that said something else. So it's like, what happened? What happened between the machine and you? Yeah, it's not good. But again, it's like, I find it hard to like blame a person in this. It's just like a societal, like the scientific community like problem of like, you're fostering this kind of behavior. It's not good. It's not good. Sorry, I'm drinking water. The publisher perish, like, something's basically got to give with that. But I really don't know what. I don't think any of the institutes, like the pillars of our scientific institute, are like willing to give it up. Even though I think a lot of younger scientists are kind of on the side of like, yeah, something's wrong here. Same as cheating in school. If the grades weren't so important, there would be no incentive to cheat. Exactly. I think it's always like these people are trying to circumvent the system because there's a flaw in the system, and like I can't, like, to me, I have a hard time blaming the individual who's trying to make the best out of a bad system. I think there obviously maybe there should be punishments, because you can't just like allow everyone to do that, you know? But it's more like, okay, we can punish this person, but we should maybe also address the actual root of the problem here. The root of the problem is something sucks. This system sucks. Can someone do something about it? This even happens in games. I'm thinking about like in the MMO Maple Story, there's a lot of botting, and I mean I think this happens in a lot of MMOs. People bot and like hack their way through the game because it sucks. There's like, the game takes up a lot of your time, and it's not very nice to how an actual human being, like how much time they can actually spend on a game, or like how much money it might cost in the game. Also, that's another issue, and so they just are botting their way through it. It's like, maybe we need to think about, why do people feel incentivized to get around this? Perhaps that. And I know that I'm speaking mostly from like an American perspective here. I think there's other issues in other countries too. I've recently read this paper that looked at the number of retracted or articles that were under correction, and they said that a majority of these papers seem to have come from like countries including China. And I looked into like, why is China producing all this? It's because their system is even more flawed than ours. They have a system that requires medical professionals, I believe, to submit papers and have them published as a first author. And it's like, well, these people are medical professionals. They don't want to, they don't seem like they're interested in work, in like research work, but they're being forced to do research work in order to do their actual medical practicing. And so obviously they're gonna cheat. They don't care about this. They don't care. They just want to help people with medicine. It just seems there's flaws, cascades of flaws all over here. I don't know how to change that. And if you even examine the system further, it even falls apart more. I don't think grants are... Okay. Preface, this is like a rare case. I like grant writing. I think grant writing is fun. I get to do it at my job. However, I cannot imagine if you were an actual, like, if you had a lab and research to keep up on and science to actually do, like most of my job is writing based, so I don't mind grant writing. But if you are an actual researcher, I don't know how you're supposed to make time for grant writing and putting together these long documents of all your work and like basically begging for money. It takes so long. Do you know how long it takes for me to help write a grant with a team of dedicated writers? It's a lot of time. And all we're doing is writing. That's our job. We just write. How do they make these researchers take up so much research time on talking about how they want to do this research? Huh? What? And then the whole review process is also... The whole review process, oh my gosh, reviewing. Reviewing. That's also, there's problems. There's so many problems that are in the review process. My goodness. I don't know how to feel about, like, grant reviews basically being done by people who might not... you get your... When you submit a grant... The autoclave 30 minutes into the stream. Diabolical. I was caught off guard. Thank you, Rip. Thank you. Hold on, I gotta make myself bigly again. Thank you. Appreciate that, and I hope you're having a good day. So grants, if you're not familiar with the grant process, this is when a researcher says, I want to do this experiment. It's novel because of this. It's part of the scientific process and this. I need this to do that. And then you say, I need this much money. Thank you. And then you submit that to some government agencies or organizations, depending on what you're what kind of work you're doing. And then a group of maybe like 10 people. A group of like maybe 10 people or so will look at your thing, will look at your proposal and go, yes, they deserve money. No, they don't deserve money. At work, so autoclave and run. Oh, thank you for checking in and thank you for the sub. Super duper appreciated. Thank you. Have a good day at work. Bye. And a group of people will look at your proposal and go, yes or no. But a lot of times, what is a big problem is these people who are reviewing your grant, they don't actually know. They're usually not an expert or like even that familiar with your work. So you really have to do a good job in your proposal convincing them. And then it makes me go, oh, how, like, I don't know, like, it's a lot to ask for from a reviewer to like understand, we are going to deny you all your money just because I don't, like, you didn't do a good job convincing me because I don't know this subject matter very well. And yeah, no money for you. Bye-bye lab. And I don't personally like it. I think it's hard to like, I think it's quite hard to reconcile this though, because of the fact like I already know in a perfect world it would be like, yes, the experts look at it and the experts go, yes, this is deserving. But we already know there's problems with, you know, nepotism, bribery, giving favors to people like that, you know, and then denying people you don't like. It's just how it's impossible to really fix that. I don't know if it's anonymous or not. I don't think so. I mean, you have to write like everything about your project and stuff. I'm pretty sure they can find you out. We recently submitted something and I didn't know they just give you, nowadays they just give you the list of people who are going to review your proposal. I was like, what if I just contact them? What if I just said, hello, professor, you're so wonderful and amazing, and here is a box of chocolates. Thank you so much. And also, approve the grant. Approve the grant. Not that I'd ever do that, but I wonder if people do that. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. And this is grant review. There's also another layer of problems that come with academic paper review. Oh gosh, the peer review process is... Ooh, how do we begin with that? So, if you're not familiar with peer review, I can give you a good definition of it. So, peer review in academic literature is this quality control process. It's where experts... This one, I believe you have to be an expert of the field because usually you're invited by a journal and they look at if you've... they've looked at articles you've submitted, and if you kind of align with that, align with what the your papers have aligned with what this paper that's being submitted does, you might get invited to do this. This is like a process that every person that has published will usually go through. It's like being picked for jury duty. Except you're not paid, and you have to work. Like, you can't go like, oh, I'm busy peer reviewing, I'm calling out sick for work because I gotta focus on this. Nope, you need to do this on your own time, basically. I was recently picked to peer review a paper, and it's hard. It's so difficult because it's quite an honor to go. They want you to say, hey, hello. We want your expertise on the matter to say, is this quality research or not? And you're like, wow, thank you. That's wonderful that you think I'm an expert at this. But then also, you don't get paid. And they really use the cloak of you're doing an important scientific good for the community by doing this unpaid labor. And it's like, oh, of course people don't want to, like, decline it, because peer review is kind of the thing that holds together academia. That's how we tell that, you know, that the paper is good, the experiments are good, everything is good, the data is sound, the conclusions are valid, the methodology is solid. It's not inaccurate, it deserves for people to read it. But then, how can, like, the system basically expect someone to, like, deeply look at every single thing being written down when you have to do this on your free time, like your own free time, unpaid? There are so many cases currently of fake, falsified data going through. It's kind of an epidemic at this point, and it's partly you have to partly blame the fact that the peer review process can't keep up with the amount of papers being submitted nowadays. I think I can't remember the statistic off the top of my head, but the amount of papers being produced and submitted nowadays in current, like, 2025 to 2026, it's an enormous amount of papers. It's more papers than ever. And it's partly, there's a lot of parts to it. There's accessibility of education and research. More people are able to do research. More people are educated in scientific methods and science in general. So people are submitting more papers and research, and that's wonderful. That's great. And then there's also, like, the second part. There's a lot of tools now that have helped ease research, like speed. You can research a lot faster than before because we have so many amazing machines. Then there's also, like, some not nice things, like people are able to submit more articles because it's a lot of AI junk. Like, people are using AI junk, like AI resources, to create fake papers and fake data and fake figures and fake everything. And what do you do about that? I think a lot of them do actually get caught. Like, if it's all 100% baloney, I think I would imagine a good chunk of it would likely get caught in the process of, like, peer review. I don't think AI is, knock on wood, I don't know. I don't think AI is capable of doing a 100%, like, you say generate academic paper and it generates everything. I don't think it would work like that, especially if they need to look at data. Maybe it depends on what kind of research people are doing. Maybe if it's more qualitative work, but it's hard to imagine in a quantitative setting that it would fly, because you kind of have to submit a lot of raw data. Like, if you made fake flow cytometry charts, like, I'm pretty sure they'd be like, well, where's your FCS files? Like, you need to submit that, buddy, old pal. You can't just give me a picture of your flow chart gates. But qualitative things, I think, one of the biggest ones, I think, is Western blots. Western blots are getting faked left and right. So if you're not familiar with a Western blot, I was gonna see if I can get a nice picture. But yeah, a Western blot is, you know, it's to quantify, analyze specific proteins within a sample. This is like one of the figures I think that gets... When I look at Retraction Watch, which is a database of all the retracted papers that, like, it's one of like the most fake figures. People are like falsely generating so many Western plots. It's crazy. Oh, thank you for the check-in, Bardine. Hello, hello. Hope you're having a good day. But I think you're technically, it shouldn't be as easy to fake as it is, because I think sometimes, I think you're supposed to even have like a physical copy, but I don't actually know how many times someone's been asked like, where's your physical Western blot copy? I'm guessing only if they have like, if they feel like something's up. Cells, like microscopy and microscope samples are also a huge fakery. I don't know about like completely AI generated, but that one's like, that one gets those get photoshopped to the high heavens. I don't know how many times I've seen pictures of like a microscopy sample, and it's like someone took the corner of one sample and then duplicated it 4 times to make a whole image. It's wild. It's wild. But again, with the peer review process being the way it is, I think it's really hard. It's hard to have time to like look at these pictures and figures so closely. You're supposed to stare at them. So you're gonna stare right at them to see, oh my gosh, that pixel looks off, or oh my gosh, those cells, I think I've seen those cells before. They're on figure C as well. When I got asked to peer review some papers, I was like, they just dropped like 30 something figures on me, and I was like, how am I supposed to have time to go through this? I don't have that time to like fine tooth comb, like stare at this. I was only able really to go like, okay, generally your methods look good, your experiments sound good, it's all like logically sound, but maybe, who knows, maybe that it was all fake. Maybe some fake data went through my eyes and I didn't even catch it. It's really hard to catch. I previously did a stream where we went over fake data, and some of it's not really easy. Hello, Tinkle Sticks. It is really me. Hello. Hi. Some of it's just insanely difficult to find. Insanely difficult. And so I don't know if the peer review, something, the whole this whole stream is me going, something's gotta give, and then I don't have an answer. I'm not here to create answers, you know. I'm not here to make an answer for all the problems with science. I'm just here to complain about the parts of science. Thank you for checking in, Tinkle Sticks. Tinkle Stinks. Sorry, Tinkle Sticks. Tinkle. It has been a while. I haven't been able to stream as much, but it's really good to see you. I'm glad you were able to check. No, don't be offended. No. I bet you do. I'm sure you do. I'm sure all of you smell very good. I trust my community smells good. And if you don't, please shower. Thank you. Academia just has so many issues, and I'm mostly only able to talk about science from like an academia point of view. I've never been in the industry. I'm kind of like, I'm currently towing the line with industry, but not really. As again, I'm a writer, you guys. I don't do the actual science work anymore, but I see it with my own 2 eyes every single day. I see the people doing the research, and I see also the people analyzing the data. And then I write it all down. That's all I do. So I'm cosplaying as a scientist, but I am a scientist. I think industry work, from what I hear from people that work in industry, there's a lot of similar problems. I think you get a little, there's the dissimilarities are more like usually I like career hierarchy situations, like having to deal with like academic bureaucracy and whatnot. I think you can get out of that more. I think you have different levels of stress though. There's a lot, depending on what kind of industry work you're doing and what kind of company you're working at. I think it can be really stressful working at one of those really big, those biggity big ones, like, you know, Thermos and Eli Lilly's and Rev Medicine and blah blah blah, whatever. If you're on the product line for some huge cancer related therapeutic, I'm sure it's a little, there's like some stress involved there that you wouldn't have in academia. But also academia has its own other stress of like, my lab might not exist in 1 year, and that happens a lot, and it sucks. It really sucks. I saw a professor who went from having their own lab to basically being, you know, they couldn't get tenure and they had to go back, they had to go sharing like lab space with someone else. Very sad to see. It feels, and I'm sure that happens more often than not. There is only so many tenure spots. I think seeing professors like have to basically fight their way to get a guaranteed job security like that, I definitely pushed me away from the PhD life. Like, that's another reason why I ended up dropping out. I just felt like I don't want to see that. I don't want to do that. I really don't want to like tell my student, buddy, if you don't publish something soon, we're not going to eat. That's no thank you. I think it'd be cool to try working in an industry one of these years. Maybe that'll be like a future career position, just so I can get a better sense of what industry life is. I'm trying to think. I feel like I focused a lot on the academia and industry science level parts that I find super unfun. I think other parts that outside of like institutional aspects of science, I think there's other parts of science I go, what's wrong here? I think science communication has a huge problem. We can talk about that. You know, I'm only a novice science communicator. I've only recently started doing this in the last year or so, of talking science to people. And I mean, I really like it, but it's really, really difficult. And science trust, I think, is at an all-time like low. People don't really like listening to scientists or like any information whatsoever, if it doesn't like align with some personal beliefs. And it makes it difficult to talk science and try to get people informed on the right subjects and information that's coming out. But I really want to push through, and I've been enjoying it. This 1 year so far experience, it's been amazing. I've gotten to like teach so many different subjects, and I've gotten so many people going, wow, I liked learning that, thank you. And oh, I wish subject matters were always taught like this. And I was like, wow, I'm glad. But I always feel like I want to try to do more, and I've tried to keep up with science communication journals. Like, I've been reading a lot of Journal of Science Communication lately, and one issue is there is so much misinformation on so many different platforms. And it's like, how can I like help do anything about that? And I guess really the only thing you can really do in science, like as a science communicator, is you keep making content that is truthful and try to push out the misinformation, but it's difficult. I wish science was a little... I wish it was easier. I wish it was easier to explain. I don't think a lot of these people that are accused of misinformation, I don't think they mean harm. Maybe I'm being very naive here. I think a lot of people that do perpetuate some science misinformation, I think a lot of it's unknowing I've watched a lot of examples of this like scientific misinformation. It's people who usually misinterpret what's actually happening. I love spreading science. No, don't do it. Don't do it, Tinkle. Don't do it. We can't. No science misinfo here. I think a lot of people do it unknowingly. There was an article recently that said something like 50 or 60% of TikToks on ADHD were misinformation. And I was like, wow, that is a huge number. And they had some examples, and it was, when I watched it, it was clearly, these people that they cited as spreading misinformation, they were very young. I don't think they would call themselves scientific communicators or anything. I think they were trying to do some good and help talk about things that they experience themselves or anecdotes, but it's more like they don't really understand. They don't really, unfortunately, understand science, and or they don't really. Yeah, they just plain out don't really understand science, and they don't realize like, oh, my personal experience or my friend's experience doesn't really mean that's experience that can be generalized to everyone, and I don't need to speak about it so factually, you know. The mitochondria is not the powerhouse of the cell. How dare you? How could you say that? How can you say that? In my chat. How? And obviously, there is a level of misinformation that is, I think, predatory. There's a lot of people trying to sell you something. Be careful whenever you see information on the internet that's someone trying to sell you something. If you watch something and there's someone saying, anyway, you can solve all these issues by buying this product or taking my lessons or buying my book, you probably would be better off not watching that content. Science is just so difficult. I have been trying to make my videos a bit more like taking into account all the things I see on the Journal of Science communication, whereas you should be citing who you're talking about, what science research, like who did the research in science. And I mean, that's an obvious, like if you're doing a paper, you would always do that. But I realized like I didn't do a good job providing that information like explicitly to my viewers, and I was like, I gotta correct that. Photosynthesis happens because the plant gets a sick tan, then uses to pick up hot girls or something like that. Oh, I think that is true. I remember learning that in plant biology 101. That's not misinfo. You're right. That's why girls like plants, like, and flowers. I found you because like, of one of your science videos, and I thought science VTuber was cool. I'm glad. I think a lot of people do find me through just like that, and I appreciate that. I love to hear that, and I want people to appreciate science VTuber. I think science VTubing is a cool medium. Listen, I'm trying to convince a conference here to let me speak at their conference and do a presentation on why science VTubing is the way to go to talk to people about your research. Like, utilize these new mediums. Don't just try to like write an article and expect someone to read the article. A young person's not gonna read that article. I guarantee you that. You know how many people don't read anymore? These people are not reading. They need a video. They need something. And then that also leads to another problem. Maybe this is less a science problem, or maybe a societal problem. It's so hard to get people to listen and read a paper, like read the paper. And that's how we get like those headlines that misinterpret a research article. But maybe this issue is more that research articles are poorly written. Thoughts? I think research articles, I just recently submitted a short on how to read a research paper. And then I also will argue that research papers, we need to change how we're writing these. These are not readable, man. These cannot be read. I have a science major in mind as well, so it's nice seeing VTubing science crossover. Yay! I know there's a whole gaggle of us. We're not the hugest community of science VTubers, but you know, there's a gaggle. There's a couple. A lot of them tend to also be like medical related, but there are a good amount of still like STEM related things, VTubers. But yeah, science papers, unreadable. When I was in undergrad, my biochemistry professor, she really stuck with me about how we should be writing, and when we write a paper, it should be trying not to be this pretentious style, like pretentious voice that you see so often in like academic papers. She said like you should be able to read this paper to basically anyone, and they should be able to follow along even if they don't really get the concepts you're talking about. And I was like, yeah, I agree completely. And unfortunately, every time I try to write like that, to like following that, everyone always corrected my writing and going, okay, you gotta make it sound nicer and smarter. And I'm like, but I don't want to write like that. Hi, Josem. Hello. There's a laboratory of us. There's something. If we had a workshop, what you call a group of science VTuber fans. There's a... I like a laboratory of us kind of sounds funny, not gonna lie. Everyone always wants to edit your academic papers to sound so wordy and unnecessarily long, and it's just so bad to me. But is this about writing science papers that are easy to understand? I'm just yapping about any science topics, Josem. But right now, yes, I am talking about writing science papers that are easy to understand. It's very hard to get people to be on the side of writing science papers that are easy to understand. I feel like so many people that are higher up, way above me, they don't like that. They want the papers to be difficult to understand, and they want them to be full of jargon and difficult to understand terms. So hard to swap between English writing and science writing in college because science writing is usually more dense, but English papers are more embellished. Scientists love gatekeeping reading. They love gatekeeping reading. I agree. The style of writing is just so different. I think a lot of people struggle. A lot of scientists struggle to write well because of the way academia and journals and scientists, the way they want to write. But the way they want to write is rubbish. The way they want to write is bad. It's not good. It's just bad. All it is words that are impossible to follow along for no reason. Concepts that don't are overcomplicated for no reason. We love making a bunch of terms rather that you would need previous knowledge that we're not going to explain, and then okay, it's up to you to figure out what that means. Or a bunch of acronyms. Oh gosh, the amount of acronyms. There's so many acronyms. I'm in the cancer research field, and the amount of different acronyms there are for cancer types, and you're expected to know all these, and it gets so complicated. Hi Gran, hello, good to see you. You need a whole, yeah, right, Tinkle, you need a whole key. When I did my review paper in grad school, I did a literature review. They tell us you need to submit a table of every single acronym, and you know how long that table was? It was literally 2 pages long of acronyms, because there's white adipose tissue, WAT, brown adipose tissue, BAT, beige adipose tissue, BEAAT, BAT. It just kept going and going and going. What ends up happening for me is I copy and paste the little paper and have an AI uncomplicate the language that's easy for me to understand. I'm eating... I think AI can be a good tool for that if you are really struggling, because I do know a lot of people. I know a lot of people who don't speak English as a first language. I've heard a lot of people say AI really helps them uncomplicate like difficult to understand scientific language, especially in English. I'm eating fried chicken from a local chicken place I love. That sounds delicious. Sounds kind of like a white adder. Yeah, whack, bat, whack, bat. In the cancer research space, these cancer types, I have this problem myself now because of how often the acronyms are used, and then I use them in my day-to-day speech, and then I realize no one else knows what I'm talking about. Like, I'll talk about colorectal cancer and I'll say CRC, and nobody knows what CRC means, but I'm so deeply entrenched in the research that I keep thinking everyone knows what CRC means, and that's how academia gets you. They make you think everyone knows what you're talking about, but nobody knows what you're talking about. Nobody knows what you're talking about. Nobody knows what NSCL is. I have to unlearn using jargon. I don't want to gatekeep. I need to go colorectal cancer, non-small cell lung cancer. It's difficult. It's difficult when you're in the buckets, like the trenches yourself. I see this sometimes, and I don't know what prompts it, but there are papers that are sometimes I see them called simple language summaries, and I really like them. I don't know what causes some articles to get those simple language summaries in PubMed, but they're so much nicer to read. I don't know why that's not just the default. I want a simple language summary of everything. Even as a scientist who knew exactly what the paper was saying, it was just easier to follow along. Like, oh my gosh, you condensed this 10-page research article into like 5 pages of easy to follow. This is our results. This is the background. This is what we did. Good. Thank you. Do we need a science paper writing revolution? I think we do. I really think we should, but I don't think it's happening. I don't think it's happening anytime soon. The people in charge of science writing are too powerful and rich and old, and we might have to wait for them to not be around. Speaking of science writing, journals. How can they ask you for so much money when you publish something there? Did you know you have to pay money when you publish an article in some of the top, like most journals, I think. You have to find journals explicitly that don't take money, but you gotta pay money. Even though I know what paleontology stuff means, I love stuff like that where it's easy to understand because it's easier to digest. Exactly! Even when you are an expert at the field, it's just nicer to get something digestible. You want to get the information. Like, who wants to struggle for the sake of struggling? Hi, Chris. Hello. Hope you're having a good day. Thank you for stopping by. Hold on. Nature, journal. I'm gonna publishing fee. I'm gonna let you know right now. Nature journal, one of the tippity top, like, prestigious science journals. Do you know how much it costs to publish if you want it to be open access? And open access means anyone's allowed to read your paper without a subscription, which is ideally what you want. You want your research to be seen by people that aren't just sub to a journal. It costs 13 grand. It costs 13 grand to pay to have your article accepted for publication. 13 grand. 13,000 USD. To have it open access published in Nature. For work you did and words you wrote. A journal is like a group that spreads your paper, correct? Yeah, think of it, it's just like nowadays it's a bit difficult because everything's digital, but journals used to be literally a physical book where all your papers were, and so you would submit to that journal, and so your paper would be in that physical book that was released that month. I guess there's still physical versions, but most people it's going to be a digital release. It's basically a magazine. Let's not kid around, it's a magazine. I was trying my best to understand science stuff. Oh, don't worry, Chris. If you don't get it, you can ask me, or you can also sit there and be cute. I also don't mind either one. Also, no one talks like they do in those science articles and journals of the world. Every scientist I've met used plain language when discussing scientific ideas and such with colleagues. Like, yeah, we were just talking about that, Gren. Nobody talks like that. Nobody talks like that. Actually, I will say I've met people that talk like that, and you don't want to know those people. They are not very nice people. They are not like not nice. Nice isn't the right word. They are not pleasant. They are not pleasant to discuss things with, I'll say. Be what? Be cute. You guys are all cute, so you can sit there and be a cute bacteria bud. I prefer just sitting here staring at you like, yes, you can all, I mean, that's also being cute. Those are the people who gatekeep reading SMH. I know, they actually are. I've met with some people who are like important, and I will say, oh, I see why things are the way they are. You are. It's because of you. It's because of you. It's because of you. Why are some humans this way? I think it has to do with for a lot of the people I've met that are like this, they are a bit older, and this is just the way things have always been for them, and so they like sticking with the traditional, you know. I feel like I rarely meet younger people that have this kind of thought. It's pretty rare to meet someone who is like young, my age even, and like they go, yeah, things are great like this. It's usually like people who have been in they are in year 50 of their career, man. Like they're like, I've been doing this since I was in, like, it was wartime. Like, I'm gonna keep doing the way I know how things are, you know. The word is spreading. Okay, you don't like being called cute, Chris? Evil? You can sit there and be evil. Journals are a mess. But then there's a problem. You would go like, okay, well, I don't want to submit in Nature then. They don't deserve my 13 grand. However, we've created a crazy form of, you know, competing with each other called the journal impact factor, which is a metric that shows basically how amazing a journal is. Amazing, quote unquote. How prestigious a journal is. You want to basically submit your papers in the best journals that have the highest impact factor. And because of that, you're going to be trying to submit things that cost... You're going to try to submit your papers to journals that cost 13 grand. Or else they're going to say, oh my gosh, you published in that journal? You published in a journal that low impact factor journal? It's bad. I don't know how we got here. Something's wrong. This is another... Add this to the list of things need to change. Journals. But then, again, how do you fix this? I feel like this is a hard problem to do anything about. There's people trying to push for moving away from like thinking about impact factor and just publishing journals and like publishing papers in any open access journal that is free to publish in. And it's I think it's a good movement, but I don't know like to what extent or how much we're gonna see anything move from that. I think it's gonna take a long time. All this stuff is gonna take a long time. Science is so Science is just so drenched in traditions. Don't know why everyone calls me cute. It's because you might be cute, Chris. You might need to look deep inside and reflect on that. I can't imagine. I don't know. Science, I guess, is already changing a bit because, I mean, it's kind of forced change with the nature of AI resources and tools. Don't know if it's changing for the best. I think it's more, maybe I don't know, maybe I would say the AI things are just exposing cracks in the scientific system even. I feel like, you know, you have to imagine there's all this stress and all these problems cropping up because people are taking advantage of the fact there's so many exploits. You could just fake data, you can just bomb, you can put in so much fake data and overwhelm the peer reviewers and all that. Doesn't that mean there's a problem? Doesn't that mean something's wrong? You missed what I said. You said Chris is evilly cute. Yeah, I agree. Again, who knows what the solution to this is? I don't think I have a solution. I don't think there can be a solution unless I think something bigly has to happen. Something bigly has to happen. Maybe like if one of these companies collapsed and we would see a problem. I just want easy access to scientific data, not have to pay a small fortune for that access. I mean, that's also another problem with these journals. They cost a fortune to publish in, and they also cost a fortune to view the articles. How they do that? Why is everyone's like fails here? Did you know you don't even get access to your own paper when you submit? I've submitted papers, I don't have access to them. I literally can't view, like, I don't. The only version of the paper I have is my own like draft manuscript that I submitted to the journal, but they didn't give me access to the actual article itself. Isn't that like crazy that you can write it and they won't even give it to you for free? I remember something similar occurs in regards to anime and art school. The old people don't count anime as art. Only traditional European art would count as art. The old people control the system of the art schools. I am familiar with that. When I was younger and I thought of art school as a potential thing I wanted to do, I remember being told like, oh, you wouldn't be able to put like illustrations, like any of these like cartoony anime illustrations. You can't use that. And I was like, that's stupid. And I didn't. I decided, no, I didn't want to do that. I was like, why do I even want to go to art school then? Like, ad break is starting soon. Ad break is starting soon. I won't yap too much about science, like, and you guys won't miss too much when I'm in the ad break. I'm not a cool science person. I don't read articles. It's okay not to read articles. You don't have to read an article to be a cool science person. You can appreciate science without reading an article. I think articles can be very difficult to understand. I also think there's a lot of I think to sit down and read an article outside of your expertise can be really difficult. Because there is so much to consider when you have to read an article. And there's like a difference between I'm reading these papers to do like a school research project, and I'm reading this paper to do like to just kind of inform myself. And there's also like, I'm reading this paper because I want to pursue the next steps in like pushing the scientific boundaries. You have to really, like, at that highest level, you really have to like think about the methods of what did they do and is this actually correct. And at least for biomedical scientists, this can be really difficult. I was just reading an article that used a model with like high-fat diet mice. So the mice were fed a diet that was very high in fat to mimic a Western diet, But then when you read the diet, like they were actually fed, it was really, it's hard to say that would be close to what an American like Western diet actually is. It was like 90% fat and 10% carbs. And I was like, oh, is this really recapitulating the Western diet that well? Like, they found a lot of issues when you did that. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not surprised. Like, when you feed, you're putting like a whole, like literal fat, like all you're feeding the mouse is fat. There's nothing else. There's not even sugar. There was barely any sugar or carbs, which I think is also an important part of a Western diet, like the Western diet, quote unquote. I say Western diet, I mean like, you know, the ones, the bad Western diet. It's so but how it's really difficult to get to that point of like, do I expect someone to just like read that methodology, like any random person to read that and go like, oh yeah, that's a problem? They probably wouldn't pick up on that, and I don't think they always have to. But it's also like, I have a hard time putting this into words. It's more like I want the reading papers is hard. How about that? Reading papers is too hard. I read NASA stuff on rare occasions, but I still don't understand a lot of stuff. Oh, NASA things are really difficult to understand. I feel like I'm missing so many cool paleontology news stuff because of no access because of paywalls. I just want to learn more stuff because I'm interested. If you're really interested in, like, you have difficulty accessing it, I always highly recommend contacting libraries, especially university libraries and institutions, and asking, like, if there's any possibility, like you're a person that's local, then you would like to get access to these kind of news, and if they have that potential to help you out. Especially, I know my local libraries are pretty good with that. I don't think people utilize their library systems enough. Go get a library card, people. Library cards are good. You know, you can, at my, like, local libraries, you can even take out, you can borrow video game consoles and games. I heard of someone recently talking about how they rented out the Switch 2 and like got some Switch 2 games to play from their library. I was like, that's so cool. Talk to your librarians. Librarians are always there to help you. If you come up to a librarian, they will like love to would love to get you all the information they can get you want. I thought university, I have access to the library's database. I get pets, but he was a lot of time. Yeah, if you are a university student, especially, you should take advantage of that. The university libraries are so powerful, and even when you can't get access, like immediate access, there's usually things such as I guess the name of this will differ in every institution, but there's usually ways where you can request the library to actually purchase that article in your behalf, and they can give you that paper. Like, it could be either temporary or permanent access. I had to do that so many times, and they would always go, oh, thank you. You know, we don't get a lot of people who utilize this system. My teacher always told me to try and contact the author because most of them would like to have more people reading their articles. Yeah, contacting the author is also a really good idea. This, I think, might depend on how popular of a paper it is. I think if you tried to contact some of the more famous authors, sometimes you might have difficulty getting a hold of them. But yeah, it never hurts to shoot your shot. Just shoot your shot, man. Talk to the authors. If someone contacted me and said, I'd like access to your paper, I'd be like, but then I'd also be confused because I don't think I'm the contact. I don't think I'm the contact person for any of my papers. I don't see much libraries anymore. I think, oh, that's so sad. I've never been inside of it. That's so sad. I think libraries are really struggling, but they're such an important resource. You know, I love going to my library. And I use my library services all the time. So many libraries also nowadays they're online. Like, for at least my area, you can download like an app, and then you could request access to different books and papers through, and then be on the wait list and hold different books. I haven't bought a book in a while because I literally can get most books through like library access on my app. My university library is a whole database online on a wide variety of topics, including paleontology. Last semester's English, we actually taught how to use it in depth. That's good. That's really good. Yeah, you should utilize that more. Honestly, I feel like people in general, they don't utilize the library enough. Use the library more. I need like paper registration stuff to enter one. I think a lot of libraries usually do. I had to sign up. I had to submit some applications for, at least in America, a lot of libraries, you need to show that you live in the area, like, because libraries are funded through, you know, local government related things, not federally. I should go to the library like soon. I like the library. Librarians are always so nice too. Every time I've talked to a librarian, they're just the sweetest person. I feel for them. People always, I've been seeing a lot of people say that their jobs are getting taken away by AI, but it doesn't even, you know, they are such amazing resources. Everyone's saying their jobs getting taken away by AI, but I don't see AI doing nearly as good of a job as librarians. I'm just saying, or at least the librarians I've worked with, I've asked them things and they've performed miracle work basically to find the things I was looking for. Truly amazing. Amazing. Sorry, drinking water. Last time I bought a book was when paleontologist Neil Shubin was in town doing talks at our university. He was doing a book signing, so I bought one of his older books and his new book he was selling, and he signed them both. Even drew a cute little fish because he studies extinct fish, especially the transition from fish to land vertebrate. That's fun. I think I like buying books. In this economy, though, it's just difficult. Books are so expensive. I wish they weren't. I think it's so nice to own a physical book. I also enjoy reading a physical book way more than like a PDF or something on my phone. It's a lot easier for me to focus, and like it feels more real, you know, when you have the physical book in my hands. Like I'm like, ah, yes, I am book learning right now. I am reading. I think that's also a big reason why people struggle with reading academic articles and science papers. Like, very, 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 very rarely are you ever reading those like in physical print form. You're usually reading them on your screen. And I think it's easy to get really distracted on the screen and get eye fatigue because it's literally white background, black text, teeny tiny letters, and it's all over your screen, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm reading. I don't know what I'm reading. And if you don't know what you're reading, you don't know how to read a paper, you know, you should check out my short that I posted that about how to read a paper, because I think a lot of people don't read papers right. They read, the amount of times I helped high schoolers, and I tell them, you know, you need to read this to write your paper, and they would just like finger point and read every single line of an academic paper. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? What do you do? You don't need to read all that. You don't need to read what kind of things that they use in the materials to like talk about the concepts. But no one teaches you it. Or if they do, it doesn't stick. It doesn't stick in the head. The only books I have are the ones my parents bought for their studies. Books are expensive. I don't blame you, Josem. I don't own too many physical books myself nowadays. Books also take up a lot of space. I think, you know, science has so many issues, but it's hard. the problem is, I really want to see a lot of these issues solved. I think there's so many things to make science so much more accessible to not just like everyday people, but to other scientists. I think it's so sad that it's hard to get, you know, to get other scientists to care about things in your field. And it's like, even within, like, if you're a scientist in the biomedical field, I think it's really hard. It's like impossible to get someone to care. Like, biomedical scientists and an ecology scientist, it's probably like their research makes no sense to each other. But even within like the subfields of biomedical science, it's like it's so difficult to understand what's even going on. Like, you're gonna talk to an aging researcher, someone who does work on like aging, and then you try to talk to them about cancer research. It's probably really difficult, and it's autoclave o'clock. He autoclaves me right in the middle of my yap. Thank you, Gren. You got me. You got me. Rewinding my brain. I think it's also one of the reasons why there's the meme, if you like ever go to a presentation and you see people give a talk about their research, and then like a professor will like ask a question that's specific only for their research. It's because it feels very like self-centered, but it's like, well, it's the only way they can really probably understand and relate to what your research is about, you know? It's too hard to understand everyone's research. We need to break down walls. We need to let people understand. We need to let people understand more easily what we're researching and talking about. If we like educated scientists can't understand each other, how do you expect like an average person to understand the work? It's like no wonder we get terrible news headlines like coffee causes cancer and stuff like that. Coffee causes cancer. Coffee prevents cancer. It's like every news article misrepresenting one guy's research and that never even said anything close to that. It's bad. It's bad. Some of them are really old-timey books from my grandfather, so I find some of them more interesting because I feel like I'm jumping to another era when reading them. Yeah, I like the older books are pretty fun to read. I think breaking down more of the barriers of accessibility in science would probably do pretty big boons in restoring trust in science too. A lot of this really goes back to what we started this stream topic about, is like science trust is kind of like at an all-time low. It feels like a lot of people don't trust science in general, and it's really sad. And it's understandable how we got here. I think it's been like basically a ticking time bomb. Tick, 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 tick of dishonesty and like distrust and all that. And like nobody's winning. I don't think the average person is winning because they don't like science, and I don't think us scientists are even winning either. I think we're losing. I think we're losing pretty bad. It's really hard to get funding right now, and like getting money is difficult. Things are very expensive. You know, like with all the AI like data centers and like AI focus, a lot of things have gone up in price, like RAM, storage space. I'm sure you guys are like all familiar with that, because if you know anything about PC parts, those parts are very expensive now. Did you know that's like a huge issue right now, like in science and academic science? We need those parts to do like a lot of data science and bioinformatics. We had a whole meeting at my organization about we need to do better about data storage. Science research is like terabytes, and terabytes is not even like, it needs to be bigger than that. It is a ton. Just like imagine when you take all the like genetic mutations of a human, like you get a patient in a hospital, they have cancer, and then you have to like you sequence it, aka like look at every single genetic mutation they've got. You have to store it. They store that data somewhere, and now you have to do that with every single patient. It's a lot. Like you need a lot of storage in science research, and storage is really expensive right now. It's really expensive. We had a whole talk again about how do we make sure we're not storing too unnecessary data? Like, what do we do with a lot of our data? If we're not using it, where does it go? Can we do something to change it? I think we can. I'm not dooming. I think change will happen eventually. Right now, though, I think we're going through the pits. I think we're right now at a low point. But I am hoping in the future, you know, we can get out of here. I am not smart enough or experienced enough to think of how we can change it. It would have to be a huge societal, like, change. And I think a lot of these problems even, like, it likely stems further than science, you know? Like, it might be more that science distrust and science issues, these are symptoms of a bigger societal issue at hand, you know? Like, I'll, like, put it into perspective. Like, I think if a person might be, like, struggling with food insecurity, like, they don't know when their next meal is coming, and they don't, you know, they might not know if they can afford rent, it's difficult for them to find time to care about science, and they might feel anger and negativity at, like, seeing that this cancer medicine is, like, making billions, and they're just looking to, like, make so much money from the sick and all that. And it's like, it's multifaceted. It's like a huge cascade, you know? It's so difficult to, like, do that. It's so difficult to fix these issues. Hi, Caledonia. It's been a while. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing good. Good. My brains went good, great. And some countries think they're still cheaper, I think. Good luck, stream. Thank you. Sometimes when I buy parts, the pricing vary depending on where I'm buying from. Yeah, I do think a lot of, some countries definitely have cheaper prices. I think it's difficult for certain, like, organizations. You know, it's when you're talking about, like, in an organizational scale, it can be difficult to go, we're going to buy things from this random country. Like, a lot of things, there's, like, a bureaucratic process involved, you know, like, you have to, like, follow the steps of this is our vendor that we have to get things from, and you can't really stop getting the things from that vendor. You'd have to, like, put in a lot of paperwork or figure things out to, like, go, okay, we can't purchase from this guy anymore, we need to purchase from someone else. It's bureaucracy, you know? It's all so difficult. Again, I mentioned this again, I think there's just always been so many a lot of these are glaring problems, I think, that have always existed to an extent, and it's just like, now the cracks are getting bigger, and how do we fix it? But again, I don't think this is exclusive to science. I think this is happening in a lot of aspects of our society, unfortunately. At least our Western society, where it feels like someone saw the crack and decided to make it bigger. Anyway, I want to say again, I absolutely love science, and I will always be a scientist. Like, science will always have my heart. Biomedical science will always be my most favorite thing ever. It's more like I talk about all these things because it's really sad to see the state of affairs. And I haven't even been in science that long. I mean, I'm quite young. I've been, like, if you want to say, like, undergrad, it's maybe been, like, a decade now, and I already feel like it's changed a lot within that decade. But I'm sure if you, like, are a scientist that have been here for even longer, and, like, I was only started as an undergrad student, so I didn't even get to see really firsthand how it really goes down, you know, things are way different as looking at things as an undergrad student versus like if I worked in as a professor or an industry scientist. It's difficult. It's difficult to see like how things have turned around. I want it to get better. I hope it gets better. I want people to trust science again. I want people to understand science better. And I want people to not spread misinformation. Stop spreading misinformation on science. Stop. No more misinfo TikToks, guys. We gotta do something about the misinfo TikToks. But yes, I like, this is like basically a love letter of I love science. Oh, gotta go. Bye, Gren. Have a good time. Bye. Thank you for sticking around. Goodbye. I could even, like, I feel like I've ranted for about like an hour, 40 minutes, but I can definitely go even further than this. But some of the problems get into even nittier, grittier details. So I will stop here, but I probably will do another stream where I talk about some other specific issues. For RAMs, they're somewhere around $30, and GPUs are $400 to $500 from what I can find. Yeah, I mean, those are good prices. That's good. It's just like, again, when you are like an organization or like you can't just buy things from wherever you want. You have to like submit a lot of paperwork to say I'm gonna buy it from here. Red tape, bureaucracy, you know. Especially when it also, I don't know how far a grant would go to check this. Maybe they would. I haven't dealt with like the purchasing aspect of grants, but a lot of times with grants, you have to talk about, you have to submit where you plan on purchasing these parts from. And I don't think the grant people would be very happy if you purchased from somewhere that wasn't in what you wrote. Like, if that's not the seller you said. But I don't know if that's really, really gonna be followed that carefully. I'm sure people they write something and then they do something else. Because who's gonna look? Who's gonna check? But also don't follow my advice. Don't do what you gotta do. Don't listen to me. Okay. I really enjoyed this yapping. It was really fun. I think I will, if I do another Science friYAY stream, I think I'll stick with this format. I really like the yapping without a PowerPoint. It's kind of just fun to go on tangents and see where we go. See where the yaps take me. See where my brain takes me. I only like, I can't show you my notes, but I wrote like 4 bullet points. I thought I was gonna try to prepare more, and it was just 4 bullet points of science, bullet point 1, bullet point 2, negative parts, bullet point 3, failing, bullet point 4, institutions. I don't know what I was expecting. Next time maybe I'll write better notes. Anyway, this was really fun. I'm glad you learned stuff, Joseph. Yeah. It was great. I'm gonna try to turn this into a video. I will try to turn this into a video. So help me. This is basically what I would have recorded my own video of, but I thought I could stream it. And so I want to see how that works out too. A glimpse to a world I don't live in. I also enjoy that. I like seeing glimpses to worlds I have no idea about. It's just fun. I like I like seeing what other people outside of my own bubble do. That's why I also like talking to you guys. When I get to hear about paleontology and things like, I just don't do anything about bioinformatics, it's just so cool. I feel like I get to learn as much as you guys say you learn from me. So I appreciate that. I really enjoy my community. Thank you guys. Okay, I am going to head out. I have to think about how I'm gonna tackle this editing. Tomorrow we have a less yappier, well, it's still gonna, I say less yappier, but I'm gonna yap. Tomorrow we have more yapping, but it's gonna not be about anything specific. I'm gonna be drawing, and you can watch me draw while I talk about random things that come across my mind and things that I've been thinking about, like stewing in my brain, and I'm just gonna tell them to you guys, and it'll just keep going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So, you know, stick around tomorrow. I hope to see you there, same time as usual. I appreciate you guys coming by. Now I will head off now. Bye bye. Bye 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 bye. Bye 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 bye.